Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on AI for web development, transforming digital creation. My name is Stephen McClelland, and I'm a digital innovation specialist here at Profile Tree. This webinar this afternoon, we're going to be taking a look at how AI has ventured into web development, and we're looking at that entire web development process. So we're going to be looking at the concepting phase through to the design, wireframing, how you're collecting the content for your website, imagery, even branding, and we're going to take a look at that entire process the whole way through, right through to development tools and how you can take your development to the next level with artificial intelligence. And so a big part of how AI is transforming content creation and strategy and planning and SEO, and a lot of the other things that we've mentioned in this webinar, is through the use of ChatGPT and these various tools. But now that these tools are expanding into the web development space, we're seeing a lot of opportunities for developers or creatives to start venturing into new products and new opportunities for releasing their creativity online. And maybe there were some technical blockages before or some skill sets. And this now opens a new tool case, a new variety of options for them to support their growth online in Google search. So in this webinar, we're really wanting to look at today is a really practical session. We're going to try and make it as practical as we can, look at more at the tools that are on offer and some of the phases that we can go through when it comes to AI in development, as we mentioned. So just as we have a quick look at the introduction and go through a bit more about what we actually want to go into in today's webinar, I want to take a look at the process in which we'll follow. So the first thing we want to have a look at is an introduction to AI and web development. Having we look at the benefits of AI, what it provides to the industry, and then some of the tools that are available to us as well. And we'll take a quick wee look at just a general insight into that. From there, we then want to have a look at AI for design and branding, and that's looking at how are we creating our logo, how are we creating some of the tools that's on offer, and are we using all these tools? And so the first thing we'll jump straight to is some of these platforms to have a familiarity around using some AI creativity. And then continuing that on, we'll take a base plate on wireframing and prototyping. So how we can use AI to wireframe a website framework, how we can start to use AI to develop a concept even further and take our design development to the next level. From there, we'll have a look at AI image generation. So again, for those that haven't been using the likes of image generation already, it's just an incredible world of creativity coming alive here with generating images online using AI. And then from that, we'll look at content creation and practical demonstrations. And we'll take a look at this in a practical sense. You'll already see the tabs open along the top of my screen. And at the same time, we'll also have a look at AI development tools for developing your own websites using the AI platform. So just to get started and stuck in, the first thing we'll have a look at is AI for design and branding. So some of the different platforms that are available to you. Now, I have 3 platforms open in front of us at the moment. All 3 platforms can be used for various elements of the design process. So don't be thinking that you're landlocked into, well, Canva is only going to be for social media, Looker is only going to be for logo, and Firefly is only going to be for image generation. You can use all 3 of these tools across the platform. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is Adobe Firefly. Now, for those that are not familiar with Firefly, Adobe is obviously the Creative Cloud suite, well known for the likes of Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Illustrator, InDesign, and a variety of their tools in the design space. They've been market leaders for a number of years here. And AI is not something that's held them back either. So they initially started with Adobe Sensei, and then they've now moved it over to Firefly. And so Firefly is an AI design tool. It's used for image generation, image manipulation, as well as being able to optimize or enhance existing imagery. So we just take a look at Adobe Firefly. You can access a free version. So if you're not already signed up to Adobe, you can go onto their website, go onto Adobe Firefly and register. And from here, you will have access to the Adobe Firefly system. So you'll see on site, it does come up with a few suggestions. First of all, we have text to image. This is the most common method of AI image generation, and we'll have a look at that in more detail later on. But we can use that for text to image. We can then have a look at generative fill. So generative fill will allow you to effectively map or mark out an area in an image and actually fill that with a different image. The example I give here is very handy, and it is obviously changing someone's item of clothing. But this can also be used for replacing people in the background of a photo and filling it with the natural scenery, or even completely submerging or masking a layer around your face or around a subject and changing the entire background. We then have the ability to do or enhance text effects. So this is allowing us as designers to be a bit more creative when it comes to how we're addressing fonts or typography and adding to a bit of a style of the site. We then have vectorization or colorization, and this allows us to apply different colors to vector artwork. So vector artwork is that almost cartoony style of art. Illustration work is very similar to it as well, but vector art allows you to scale, and it's very positive for websites now as it allows you to develop out your image library. From there, there's text to template, and this is more about using Adobe Express tools and Adobe Illustrator, where you'll see we have text to vector, and these are again going to be tools you can use. So Adobe Express is more for browser-based changes. So you don't have to download applications, but there's so much on offer when it comes to Adobe Firefly. Likewise, they're also working on their different versions. So Firefly 1 was very much kind of cartoony. It had that almost, I'll go back to suppose vector to it that had that cartoony element. You'll see if you look at the skin, there's the pigmentation around the skin just isn't 100%. The lighting is not really nailed down tight. As you can see, the foreground, so the actual portrait or subject in this case, the lighting is hitting from the right-hand side of the face. However, there's clearly lighting elements in the background that are not amplifying. So there's this element of lighting and texture and it just wasn't nailed. Then with Firefly 2, look at the difference. It's actually quite scary how accurate that is. One, of course, the lighting. Now you can now see the lighting from the right-hand side of the face, now the left. And now if you look at the clothing on the left-hand side, you can see that lighting impacting the bounce off. Even when it comes to the textualization of the face, there's so much more accuracy now with their image rendering. So you can get a difference between the two and see how incredible some of this technology is coming. And so we're going to have a look at image generation very soon, but it's just to give you an insight into Adobe Firefly. And then our next tool that we wanted to look at was Canva. Now, a lot of people are familiar with Canva in the design space at the moment, but if you're not, we have done a webinar on it already, and we'll hopefully be releasing those recordings online very soon. But Canva was very well known as initially when it was brought up a social media content creator, the ability to create content, scale it for Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and various other platforms. And now Canva has brought AI with the Magic Studio. So Magic Studio is Canva's version of effectively their approach to AI in terms of what they're trying to do. So Canva AI or Canva Magic Studio is going to allow you to create designs. So you can quickly type in, you need a social media post, or you need to create a logo, or you need to create a brand. And this goes back to that idea that Canva is not just for social posts, which is what I'm well accustomed for, but it can be used for a whole variety of things, from presentations to website concepts to videos and to much, much more. So Magic Design is going to be that example of you can type what you're looking for and get a result back on the end of that as well. So just again, some incredible updates coming the way from Canva. And we also then have Magic Switch. And Magic Switch is going to allow you to transform content from one type of media to another. So for example, if you're doing a social media post and you're posting an advertising product, which you'll see here, you can then quickly ask it to convert that to a document, and it will carry the branding, carry the subject over to a document. Again, very handy for keeping continuity between your brand and your overall frame of use. We then have a few other examples, Magic Video, Magic Media, which is going to be similar to what we've seen with Adobe Firefly. So lots and lots of opportunities coming to the space, especially we rise off with AI and how it's coming to just really make life a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible for our teams as either freelancers, as marketeers, or simply someone who's running a small to medium-sized business and they're doing a lot themselves. How can they be able to have a few more tools in their arsenal? So again, we had a look at Firefly, Canva, and then the last one, which a lot of people have not used before, is Looka. Now, Looka is a logo generation software. It can be also used for naming generation. So if you're wanting to try Looka, it's a free package initially. And then once you want to make a purchase, be it purchase the logo or purchase some of the print material, which you'll see on screen, then that's obviously where they get the e-commerce or the monetization in. So the example that we have done, or the example that we will look at today in the purpose of this webinar, when I talk about making it practical, is we have developed a brand for natural holistic therapy health. So Natura Health, and that we're playing on the idea of natural health. So what we did initially, and although we'll go through an example of this today, we actually used ChatGPT to develop our business model. We went into ChatGPT, and I'm not going to go through all the same steps, but we went into ChatGPT and we said we want to create a brand in the health space. And clearly can't type today. Can you give me niche topic points? And so if you kind of think of that journey, think of that experience of trying to create a brand or a business online, we went through ChatGPT for our digital strategy. We had a look at how we could take something like ChatGPT to develop an idea or a concept. So we started with, we want to create a brand in the health space. We want to look at different ideas. And you can see all the different ideas that ChatGPT came back with: mental wellness, holistic nutrition, fitness programs, health and hormone balance. There's so many opportunities that's there for us to venture into. So ChatGPT allows us to explore that strategy. But with that strategy, with ChatGPT, we were able to then use Luca as a way of developing a logo that resonated with our vision and values of the business, in terms of, we want to create an online blog that's focused on holistic therapies, on holistic health, and how could we bring family health to a website. So by using Luca, we're able to create a logo that resembled that and then play that into our site. Now, if you want to try Looka, it is looka.com. You can go to Looka, you can create a brand. They will ask you a series of questions, simply relating to the brand itself and what you want to achieve. And from there, they'll come back with almost a concepting mood board, and you pick different ideas that you like before you get hit with the final option. Now, from here, you can then, of course, edit that logo before converting it to an asset pack. And at this stage, then you can get different elements. As you've seen already on the home screen, they're advertising that they do web design, print material, business cards, and various other levels of your brand kit, so to speak. So it's to give you a real clear picture of how you can start to use AI to create the entire customer journey experience. If we take a rewind for a second, you can start with ChatGPT. You can look to develop an area. The more context you give to ChatGPT, the better. If you have a background or experience in a particular field or topic, you can use ChatGPT to enhance that before you then go to tools like Looka, Canva, and Firefly to develop out the content from there. And this is just a fraction of where AI is when it comes to design and branding. And there's so many other tools out there. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below in relation to tools that you're also using and how there's different platforms available for you. But this is just, as I said, a bit of a framing for how you can use AI for design and branding. So if we take it a step further and you now have your branding, you've got your design in place, what is the next level? How do you take your concept, your idea, your brand, your logo to an actual website? Where do you get started? How do you get started? What questions do you need to ask? And again, I could interject at this moment before we look at what's on the slide and say, ChatGPT, can you help me with the website requirements? And again, I'll expand on that even more detail, but ChatGPT might come back with different suggestions on things you need to consider: technical requirements, target market. It might look at what pages you need on your website. But once you've started to understand the requirements and you look at the content required, the navigation, the design, the user experience, we then move into what AI tools can support with starting to frame that up. And there's a fantastic AI platform called Reloom. So Reloom is a relatively new platform that has been developed, and it is trying to use AI to develop AI sitemaps and interactive wireframes. And the idea here is that you can now use AI to develop a visual sitemap, plan the structure of your website, and then start to define how user can navigate the site. From there, Reloom then have a site builder, which will allow you to build visual wireframes on the back of the sitemap you just completed. These wireframes are then going to be structured, they're going to be laid out and presented in an attractive way so that you can fundamentally understand the user navigation and the user interaction with your site before moving on to the likes of higher end or high fidelity development. And you'll see that process as we go through. And we're going to have a look at this just now. We're going to take a look at Reloom. We're going to have a look at developing a sitemap for our Natura Health brand. We're then going to take it a step further and we're going to use Reloom to build a wireframe, or a low fidelity wireframe, before actually having a look at the ability if we wanted to export it directly to Figma. And from Figma then, if you're not familiar, Figma is a design tool. It's a design and prototyping tool that allows you to start to build interactive elements, so we can start to apply the design, the branding, the color, and then start to link that to interactive elements, linking up pages. So if someone was testing the site on Figma, they could actually click on a page and they'd be taken to that page without it being a live website. And once we've done our prototyping and our testing and we're happy with that, we can then move it on to our application of choice. Now, you'll see Reloom will integrate directly with Figma and also Webflow, which we'll talk about today. But what we'll do is, as well is have a look at other other AI development platforms that are available before finally, and once you've completed your implementation, you've added your content, you've set up your website, you've done your testing, is to deploy and launch and use it for public access. And so, in a nutshell, well, that is the process of designing and developing a website. And so, what we're going to do right now is we're going to have a look at Reloom. We're going to have a look at that process. So, as we'll see, we have a Blue Peter stunt that we've done earlier. So, we will go back and show you how this is done. But when we create a new project on Reloom, it will ask us to define the purpose of our website. Things like the target market, the vision, mission, and values, some of the functionality, what type of website. And once we've done that, well, Reloom will then take that concept and apply what it would suggest is the appropriate sitemap for that purpose. So in this scenario here, you'll see at the top of the screen, we have our sitemap. We have our sitemap suggested by Loom. So we have home, about us, blog, resources, contact us, case studies. And if we scroll down, we also have the single blog post. Now, this was completely automatically generated by Reloom. I haven't done anything here. And this is a level that AI is going to when it comes to helping us start to frame it out. To take it a step further, Reloom even goes and looks at the sections within each of these pages. It looks at the recommended sections, which if you've already got a keen eye, you'll notice that I can edit, I can add, I can delete, and I can amend, most importantly, to make sure that it's the perfect site for me and my vision and goals. And this is just a very quick look at how the sitemap works. So what we're going to do now, and as always on webinars, hopefully everything works as it should, but we're going to create a new project within Reloom. We're going to try and set it up just in the way we would before if we were to create a site. So if we click on New Project within the Reloom AI Builder, you'll see we get started here with the basis of a primary sitemap. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, I want to describe the company. So just for the purpose of the webinar today, I'm just going to keep this very simple, and we're going to stay very similar to the brief that I've given before for Natura Health. So we can say here that we're developing a Natura Health blog website. So we want to develop a natural health website. This website will be a blog and will focus on providing healthy eating tips and tricks for a busy household. And then we can say things like the blog will also include, or sorry, not the blog, but the website will also include a shop and products page, or well, I was going to say products, but a shop and products page for selling guides and ebooks. And then finally, promote online content. So something along those lines. Obviously, if you're doing this in your own time and you do have a bit more time to do this, I would encourage you to craft a much more bespoke prompt. And again, if you were attending our earlier webinar yesterday when we talked about prompt engineering and AI strategy, you'll see how much of a difference that makes when it comes to creating content online and obviously using AI correctly. We'll then set the number of pages. So we just want a small website. So let's say 1 to 5 pages, and then we will click generate. Now, what Reloom will then do is, based on the specification and the requirements, Reloom will then take that into consideration, and it will start to develop what it recommends is going to be the ideal sitemap for your website. And you'll see already it has picked up on some of the keywords that I used. So things like blog, website, things like shop, product. It's taken that on board, and it's now created what the homepage sections or what the ideal homepage would look like. So we start with the navigation and the nav bar. We have a hero section, or a hero banner as we would call it, before moving into a feature product or a feature blog section. You'll even see, if we look in, you can see here that it highlights the importance of natural health and a busy lifestyle balance with quick engaging feature. It's clearly reading the brief. And that was a short brief. That was not a great brief at all, but it's clearly understood that, and it's brought it back into telling me as the owner, as the creator here, what I need to be thinking about. We have a features list, a call to action. Then we have a product list, testimonials, newsletter. So this looks great. Maybe there's a couple of things that are too much. So the feature section, for example, we can remove that just by left clicking and hitting backspace. and that removed that section. On the home page, though, we have testimonials, newsletters, call to action. Again, everything looks good. We could possibly have a look at adding in other sections. So if we thought we wanted to add in maybe a testimonial or maybe a gallery of other companies or other listings, we could have a look at adding in a section. There's nothing here at the moment. I think it actually looks pretty good. And then on the back of that, we then have the sub pages below. We have About Us, Blog, Shop, then the single product and the single blog page. For those that aren't equipped with that, normally a blog will be the archive where you see all the blogs, same as the shop, you'll see all the multiple products. And then when you click into each product, it goes to the single product page. Now at this stage, you'll notice that these now are blank compared to the home page. However, for those that are quick spotted, you'll notice there's a generate button there and we can click on generate, and now Reloom will start to generate the ID sections for each of those pages. Now we can start to build out the site in our own way. In the same way we're able to add sections or remove sections, we can also add pages. And we can do that now just by clicking on the plus button. And even though everything's being generated all at the same time, we can now start add on things like a contact us page, which was missing. From there, we can then also hit generate, and it will now generate the items from a contact us or a typical contact us page. So it just goes to show you how advanced things have moved in the AI space. We can now take, using something like Firefly or Canva or even Looker, we can take a concept from Canva, we can start to then create a logo for that concept, and very quickly we can start to then make a sitemap. And that's where it begins to structure the elements of a website. For the first time, we're able to really see what are the key requirements that we need to think about on the website. And Reloom is going to help you with this. It's going to help a look at, when it comes to a shop page, what do we need to consider? We need to think of the header for this site. We need to think of listing the products. Do we want another testimonial in this section? Possibly not. We can remove that. What about a pricing section? Well, it's going to be within the product, so we can remove that too. Call to action. Don't have too many calls to actions. FAQs, yes, let's do that. Reviews, that's going to fall within the products. We can remove that. And you'll see just how customized you can make this. Now, it's important to get this right, or get this as close to what you think is right as possible. You'll see from here, we can then start to finesse and get our sitemap to where we want it. Now, once we've got this sitemap, we have a couple of choices. First of all, we could actually go and share this with a friend or a colleague. We can send them a link and allow them to comment or provide their own level of feedback before we make any changes. What we can also do is export, and we can export this to a text file, to a CSV, or to an Excel sheet. I noticed that there is some additional add-ons that you might consider with Reloom, but the idea is that you can export this as an Excel sheet, send it to a client for sign-off, even send it for pricing. So if you're trying to quote, you'll see here that what it's referring to with Excel is you can obviously quote for this. And then what you can also do is export it to Figma and Webflow. So not to give away any spoilers, you'll see what we're about to do next. So that is the site mapping phase done. If we think back to our framework, so we're able to create a very visual sitemap, clearly see how the user is going to navigate the website, see what pages are needed. And then from there, we can start to go to the main or the core feature of Reloom. So believe it or not, that's not even the full feature. This is the feature itself, and that is the wireframe. Now, this is where Reloom is quite scary almost. It immediately is going to take your sitemap that you did before. As you'll see, as soon as I click on wireframe, it is now starting to take that same sitemap and is now building pages for the website. And it's considering everything that we've seen before. So we just take a look and we zoom in on the left-hand side. First of all, we see a menu. You'll notice here we have a mega menu system. It's off in the background. We can expand and open up on that later. But what you'll notice is it's considering every part of the typical blog stroke e-commerce website with those features. So if we start at the top and work our way down, we see we have the primary navigation. It's taking up all the pages that we mentioned before. We have our logo, our About Us, our blog. You'll even see it's added in some suggestions. We can change that if we double left click. We can call that resources. We can relabel it. You'll even see that we have Ask AI at the top, so we can start to change it around. And of course, we have the fantastic undo and redo buttons that we can go back. So it gives you a good flavor for the site. You'll also notice that this is highlighted in green compared to the blue purple. And that's because we also have the ability to have what's called global widgets. Global widgets are going to be templated across the entire site. For those that are familiar with web development, you'll often find your websites are made of 3 sections: header, content, and footer. The header and the footer are normally global. They are the same across every page on the website, unless specified or told otherwise. And then the content, which is the body of the page, is what's going to be different. So by this being green, if you notice, if you make a change, so we'd call this resources. So let's just change it again. And clearly I've lost the ability to spell today. Just for now, just to show you, notice how it says resources across all of our other pages. So again, that idea of it being global will really help us in this scenario. So I'll just go back to recipes. I actually thought that was quite a nice idea as a feature page. So with that being said, we now have the ability to go through this site itself. We can see how we've got the home page with the hero section. If you recall from our sitemap, we had that header section, the features list, and notice how the wireframe has developed those sections. The feature list, the features, the stay tuned to the blog, products, all these items that we mentioned are now starting to come in, and we can start to see a really high fidelity, or the beginning, sorry, should I say, the beginning of a high fidelity wireframe coming into play. We don't have the branding of the colors, and that's where Figma is going to come in, but we can still use Reloom as a level of design. We can even go as far, as I said, at looking at different elements of the design itself, between menus, changing out text, or even uploading imagery and starting to style the site. You'll see on the right-hand side, just if I move the zoom out of the way, we can also then edit some of these sections. So for example, we have this homepage section here, or this feature header section. At this stage, we could change this to allow for a video or image. We can also then change it to have a form or a button, and it allows you to replace. Likewise, we can also generate text. So if we wanted to change the content, so you'll see even here, it's using AI to add in content for you based on the actual spec or based on the prompt that you put into place. So it's really taken so much of that process, the really sometimes tedious part of that process. It's on the process that's very frustrating, and applying it to your business or to your brand. You can then take it a step further by generating your own copy, your own content, making changes, or completely rewriting it using AI. From there, if you don't like a section, it's as easy just to press the delete key or the backspace on your keyboard, and that will delete the entire section. If we want to just replace the component with something else, a similar style, so we want a feature banner or a hero banner, well, we can hit replace component, and now on the right-hand side in this list, you will start to see all the different components that are available, and there is lots of different ideas you can see for those sections. Again, it's just really powerful to see where AI is going, and these updates are going to make to the site. If we wanted to add sections at this stage, we can add in a section. Let's call it how it works. We can put in a small section here for how it works and see the different options. So let's have a look at this 2-column layout. We can then left click on that column. Oh, didn't want to add 2, that was a mistake. So let's just delete one of those. We can see here the style and layout, and if we wanted to, we could edit the text, or we could left click on it again and start to see if there's any editing capabilities for this. So again, there's so many options that we can start to blend in. We can see here we can add in 3 columns. We can remove the image in the background and just have it as a solid color. So many different things to consider when it comes to wireframing the site. Now, I don't want to get distracted. You can see already I was going to start getting into that, but this just gives you an idea of how you can easily start to change or make up sections. The nice thing here that the sitemap and the wireframe are continually communicating together. Notice now we have a how it works section listed in the sitemap itself. So it's going to consider those changes when it comes to reviewing with your client or sitting down with your team to review what you want on your site. You're going to get a really good clarity of what sections we need to consider when it comes to even the requirements. What do we need for content? What do we need to do for imagery? Do we need videos? All these things are going to be established pretty well here. So without getting into this and over-the-top detail, I know we've only another 30 minutes left, but it's just to give you a bit of insight into how powerful tools like Reloom are going to be as they expand and only get better with time. If we look at the About Us page, you'll start to see the layout. And if you do come to a page where you're just looking at it going, it's not the right fit for me, I don't see the style, well, you can actually just click Shuffle, and Shuffle will completely raise this page. It'll give you a different address and different idea, but it allows you to use AI to come up with different concepts each time and then eventually settle with one that you're happy with. Again, you'll see as it reshuffles, it puts in different sections that we can add or remove. Things like meet our team, we can remove as it's only a single operation at the moment. At that stage, then we can add in a section, so possibly add in a section there, and we can even search for different ideas. So if we said team or profile, maybe, we can see if there's elements that come up. Likewise, we also have the ability to generate with AI, and that will allow us to use AI to generate more copy or generate content, as well as generating new pages. So we can use AI at any stage to create new pages and copy within the site itself. So we can go back here, search for something, and add it into the site. Now, if we find an element that we want to drag or move around, you'll see there's a dragger on the left-hand side or a tooltip. We can just left-click and drag, and that will allow us to rearrange sections as we see fit or as we want them on our site. So there's so much you can do with this wireframing stage just to get things listed as you find them on your platform. So without getting into this in more detail, you'll see we have all the pages listed. We have the blog archive. We have the single blog page. We have the contact us. We have the product or the shop page, the shop page and then the single product page. I actually think it has made a mistake there. You can see it has added a single product. So we could just remove that. Now we have the product page, then we have the single product page, and we can start to play around with different options there. Even here, we can change it to left align, center align. So many options. And so this really brings us to the next stage in our process, which is looking at high fidelity design or prototyping. And this is where Reloom has really, I think, nailed it when it comes to how can you take this a step further. Already this is incredible. But what I showed you before is the ability to actually export this to something like Figma. Now, we don't have it for the purpose of this call today, as it just would be too much time. I could do a whole webinar alone just on Reloom and Canva, and Figma and Webflow. So if you are interested in that or you'd like to know more questions about using Reloom with Figma and Webflow, please do leave a comment for us below. Let us know or reach out to us directly on our social media channels. So we'd love to hear from you. But at this stage, you can now then start to link your Reloom to Figma. And again, for those that aren't familiar, Figma is a high fidelity prototyping software. It allows you at this stage to start adding in the color, the branding, the interactivity, the buttons, starting to link things up. If you're also wanting to take it a step further again, and we go back to our flow, well, what we can see as the next stage is the application. Now, at this stage, we can start to look at different scenarios or different opportunities that's available. Webflow is now becoming one of the biggest development platforms available. Now, if we talk about development platforms, what are we referring to? Well, we're referring to a CMS, a content management system. Now, when we look at content management systems, the things to consider here is number one, ease of use or accessibility. How easy is it for you to access your website or to find a platform that's fit for yourself? Now, that might be looking at various different platforms. It might be looking at the likes of WordPress, Wix. There's different plugins you can use, but Webflow is fastly becoming one of the biggest platforms when it comes to building the website without coding or without the need to be a developer by trade. It still allows you a level of coding experience, but it does allow you to build on a site. So by using tools like Reloom, so as you can see here, just a reminder that we're able to build this entire wireframe just by putting a prompt into AI, we can now actually export this entire wireframe out to Webflow and to develop a site. So this is just a bit of an insight into showing you how AI can be used to take a concept from a wireframe to a development through and building it into Webflow. Now, if we go back to our presentation and just have a look at where we were. So where we came from was we were able to build a visual wireframe or a visual sitemap on Reloom. From there, we took it over to the Reloom site builder. And we were able to build the visual wireframe that we just seen. And from there, then export it into Figma. Now, just as we're starting to talk about applications and which platform, we did do a webinar earlier today. And if you've missed that, you will be able to catch the recording soon enough. And that was from Kadesha, and that was on using Wix development. And we'll be talking again at 3 o'clock. We'll be doing the second webinar on AI development in Wix and using some of the Wix Studio tools. But Wix, once again, is another fantastic platform that can be used for developing sites very quickly using tools like AI. One of the other biggest applications on the market is WordPress. WordPress is currently powering over around 46% of all websites online today. And one of the big features of WordPress is the ability for plugins, visual builder plugins such as Elementor, Divi, WP Bakery, just to name a few. But Elementor are one of the ones that are leading the way in the WordPress space, at least in the AI game, and they are now bringing AI to their WordPress builder. And this is the ability for WordPress, or for Elementor, should I say, to build whole containers and sections just by using AI. Now, they have launched parts of this feature already, but they are bringing more out. And what's going to be happening soon is that we're going to have the ability to create whole sections just by typing a prompt into Elementor, and it will then create a section. So you'll see an example screenshot of this on screen now, which is the ability to create a service section for a marketing agency. And just like you've seen, similarly to Reloom, it'll give you a series of options. You choose a section with the right components that matches what you want to get, and from there, it'll start to present that information back to you. Now, as I said, we could do a whole webinar on something like the Elementor AI or the Webflow development tool. So do keep those in mind. If you do have any questions on that, do leave them in the chat below, and likewise follow up with us or connect on social. One of the tools I wanted to show you though, and it's a bit of a wild card that's come to the market, is Web 10 or 10 Web. So 10 Web is one of the first AI builders that hit the market. A lot of AI builders use their own framework. They use their own platform. I, in my Blue Peter stunt for this webinar, have just got one ready to go. But if you're looking for this, it's 10web.io. And I would really encourage you to explore this platform and have a look at it, especially have a little fun with the trial. But what 10web allows you to do is create a prompt, which will then self-host, self-manage, and create a WordPress website. It's a bit strange how they do it. I'm fascinated by it because it still is WordPress and it uses Elementor. But the idea is it will effectively take a prompt and do the entire thing, set up the hosting, build the website, and they also allegedly optimize it for speed and performance. So if you're looking at your SEO and you're looking at Google Page Speed Insights or GT Metrics, they are aiming to get that to the highest percentage score, which you'll see even just on the homepage of their site. They're really pushing for that. So in this scenario, hopefully if it works, we have set up the account. We've created our account and we've now ready to create a site. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click on Generate with AI. Now, what 10, I keep on saying Reloom, what 10web is going to ask is what type of website do we want to create? Do we want an e-commerce website that'll be powered by WooCommerce or some form of shop? Or are we looking for what we would call a brochure or an informational site? So I'm just going to select, I want to create an informational website. I can then click on next, and it's going to start to ask you a series of questions. So for the purpose of our presentation, we have stayed on this topic of Natura Health. That is our health brand that we've been walking through. So let's just stay with that element at the moment. So if we go back to 10web, and we can go in here and say the business type is a blog website, or we say health blog. Let's see what comes up. Might just be blog as the one we're going to have to go for. Mental health blog, yeah, first one, perfect. So health blog, let's try that. We're going to hit next. Then we obviously have a choice of the language being used and the blog name. So the blog name is Natura Health. And if we had a prompt, we could put a prompt in here. So if you remember from before, this is why we do these webinars sometimes with the blueprints or some of the pre-set up in mind. It's always good when they work. But if we had a prompt from ChatGPT, or if we were working on a strategy with ChatGPT, we could take our prompt already. Because that's obviously fallen over, I'm going to go back and just play it safe and type one in manually. So in this case, it is a healthy eating blog focused on busy families looking for a healthy lifestyle. Something along those lines. Again, we can enhance that with AI if we want. We can get 10web to make that a little bit better, a little bit more jazzy. Our health blog offers a variety of quick and easy recipes to help busy families maintain a healthy diet. Yep, that looks pretty good. So it's even done that for me too. And I can hit next. That stage then, it's going to put in a title. Now, for those that have built WordPress websites or any website before, you'll be familiar with the idea of creating post titles and page titles. So we're just going to give it a title. So that might be, what would that be? I'm also conscious that might be creating a blog post too. So if we just call this the top healthy habits for young families. Something along those lines. Blog post description, again, we can put something in here. Blog series all about healthy eating. Well, typos. And the category is going to be health and fitness. Okay, so we can finalize. And now what's going to happen is, and hopefully I don't have to stall too long here on this, but you'll see TenWeb is now going to go off and it's going to first of all create and set up the hosting environment. It's going to create us a home page. It's going to create a blog page, and then it's going to generate the content of the site as well. And this, as I said, from my point of view, is just terrifying to see how advanced AI has become. The fact that we can take and use tools like Adobe Firefly, just a reminder from before, to create imagery and content that's commercially viable to use in terms of licensing. We've got tools like Canva that can help us, relabel or recreate imagery. So the Canva Magic tool, so we can ask it to create 5 blog post images for our healthy eating blog, and then take it a step further for the likes of Luca to be able to develop our logo and our brand kit that we can then take to social media or for business cards, for letterheads, or even signage, and then take it a step further and set up the framework of the site. Or you can take bits and pieces of each of those areas, take your own experience, and then apply it to something like TenWeb, which will then start to set up a site. So at this stage, it's now created the site. It's going to ask me to preview it. And so from there, we can preview what's been done, start to get a bit of a flavor for the site. And you'll notice, I mean, for those that are familiar with WordPress, it is using the Elementor Builder. So here it's now starting to drop in content. Remember, you've watched me do this, so there's been nothing done in the background. There's no Blue Peter stunt. Here is one I've done earlier. So this is as new to me as it is to you. And so you'll see it uses the Elementor Builder. I can now start to change out sections. You'll see there's some things that are a bit strange. This first section, for example, there's an empty box, at least empty space at the bottom. So I can delete that. I could change out that container. But overall, it has nailed what I was asking for, which is a blog style website. It's added fake content. There's a few things here that I can use as a base plate to move forward, but there's also the ability for me to very quickly go in and, just like I would if I was building my own WordPress website, start to build on Elementor. So there's that familiarity with kind of keeping it with WordPress, but also completely building a whole site using tools like TenWeb. And so TenWeb, don't get me wrong, expands on this further. You'll notice the top toolbar is very different from what you're used to in WordPress. TenWeb apply their own elements. So as much as you have Elementor elements, you also have TenWeb elements that they have as part of their package. So different things that they've customized that help blend in. Now, some of these tools are an additional add-on. Others are just part of the default range. But it's that idea that you're not having to reinvent the wheel, retrain yourself in how to build websites. You're using the same tools you're familiar with, and then just applying those to WordPress or applying them to a platform like this. So again, it's just to give you a bit of an idea on all these different platforms that are available to you when it comes to development and AI, or using AI for development of a new website or a new platform. Again, I would encourage you, if you're just even thinking about having a bit of fun with this, is just to try it out. TenWeb have a fantastic trial. You can set up their trial today and register for the platform just to see what it's like. So hopefully that has given you a bit of an insight into that process that we've went through, from that sitemap, wireframing, the high fidelity prototyping, and then right through to the application and launch. And I suppose the cheat from me there was that when we look at the launch, that you could see that something like TenWeb will host and maintain the website for you as well. You don't even need to think about going out and outsourcing hosting or third-party management for that too. Just to recap a few points that we mentioned before, I am not the most creative person in the world when it comes to design of websites. You can see that I use AI as a support mechanism for me. I see AI as a massive supporting tool. Don't see it as a replacement. I don't see it as a methodology for completely moving someone to the side. I see it as a tool that you can use to strengthen your own ideas. If you've got the ideas, then the AI is going to really support that. And that's where image generation or image creation comes into play. So just for anyone that joined, one of the platforms we were looking at earlier was Adobe Firefly. Now, lots of people are using different platforms, Midjourney, DALL-E on ChatGPT. So there's lots of image generation out there at the moment. But for those that have been in the design game for a while, you'll be familiar with Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Adobe have clearly, they lead the way when it comes to the design software. So they're now taking their years of experience and history in the design creative space to create Adobe Firefly. And so just like you would on lots of these platforms, I'm not going to try and pretend to be creative, but you can come up and say that if you're building a health-based website, you want to have a green tea in a mason jar. Green tea? No, that's not right. Green tea in a mason jar. I don't know what this is going to do. We're testing this one together. But the idea here is that a lot of people like to show off Firefly and Midjourney and these DALL-E platforms for really creative, super artistic styles. And then you need to think about, well, I actually need it for my website. So if I'm going to write a blog all about the benefits and the health benefits of green tea, well, exactly what I'm looking for is what you see on the screen, and it's bang on. So it's exactly what I need to see. So I can then apply that image. Because of Adobe's licensing, I can like commercially use this as well for a client or for my own blog that I will post online. And this allows me then to take that content and put it onto a site. What if I'm developing an e-commerce and I wanted to build a product? So again, if we think back to Reloom, when we put together our sitemap, we said here that we wanted to create a product. We want to have a single product page. So if we take that to Firefly again, could we create some form of mason jar? Let's say empty mason jar on white background. I don't know if we can say in brackets, even say product image. And again, what we're trying to do here is think about the idea of having product imagery that we can then sell. So we were thinking about doing something like drop shipping, where we maybe don't have the product listed on a table. Could we obviously get that product and even upload it to Firefly? And then we have the real image that's going to be drop shipped, and we have a professional studio grade quality. So you'll see here, done a half decent job. There's maybe some, if you're, for those that have a better eye for this than me, you'll maybe notice some issues there with the lid, some of the lighting, the shading. But it's done exactly what I'm looking at to do. So again, it just shows you how far we've come with the likes of Firefly, with the likes of image generation, and how a lot of these platforms can be used to enhance your content for your website and how it can be used to enhance the overall display and aesthetics. So again, just to recap, when it comes to Firefly, we can be using it for image creation for our website. We can be using it to support our blogs. We can be using it to refine or to enhance our content before then taking it to improving graphic design and using it for brand, for vector imagery, for illustrations. So it really allows us the power of AI and image generation to see how far we can take it and what we can do along those spaces. And then if you have been attending any of our webinars else this week, this one might feel a bit repetitive, so I'll not stay on this too long, but that is using AI for content creation. Now, as I showed you already, one of my favorite tools right now for website development and AI content creation, as you've already noticed, is Reloom. So again, just to quickly recap, with Reloom, what we were able to do is build a sitemap based on a prompt. With that sitemap, we could then say that we want to create a new page. So we go and hit the plus button for new page. So we have about us, blog, shop, contact us. What else could we create for a holistic health website? Well, we could come up maybe with resources. So let's do that. So you get there in the end. So we create a page for resources. Again, we're going to use AI to generate the sections that Reloom is going to recommend. So give it a second and it's going to come back with some sections for the resources page. And based on that, it's also going to help us generate a bit of a content overview as well. So we can see the sections it's going to put into resources. In my mind, resources is more like a list of tools or guides and ebooks, which I think it has. It's just nailed that. And in the benefits section, we can remove that just by hitting delete. Logo section, again, we can remove these. We're not interested in that those add-ons. But the important thing here is that by using Reloom, it's actually going to help us at least frame the content. When it comes to designing or building a website, for anyone that's had to build a website before and someone asked you what pages, you're not thinking about the content. You're just thinking about, I need an about us page. I need a service page. I need a product page. Reloom is going to go that step further and it's going to look at the sections. So once you've done that, again, we can flick back to our wireframe and we should hopefully, maybe it's going to take a second or two. We should hopefully find, yep, there's our resources page. As you'll see, AI is currently building out those sections. So the rest of the pages are still done from before. Now we'll start to see that Reloom is starting to add in some of the content. Now at this stage, remember, Reloom could be used to edit the content. So if we wanted to go in and ask AI to expand on this, make it shorter, add more to it, change the tone, or, and this is where I'm coming back to our AI content creation, ChatGPT. And we could use ChatGPT to develop and create high quality content. So just a reminder for anyone that wasn't with us yesterday morning, we had a look at creating prompt engineering and we had a look at creating prompts in ChatGPT. So I'd really encourage you to use ChatGPT, use the Rodex framework. So R, just a reminder, R is for role. So ask ChatGPT to assign the role of a senior marketing executive with 20 years experience, specializing in the holistic health therapy sector. The O is the objective. Let's say we want to develop a blog for our website. D is the description. So I want you to develop a blog that's a minimum of 1,000 words. It has headings, lists, FAQs. E was to provide an example. So that's you to go off, find an example of the #1 health-focused blog and copy and paste the first blog or the first bit of content. So it sets the example of what you wanted to do. And then S finally was to sense check, and that was to check the content. So if you can apply that Road-S framework to creating content every time, you will see how that will make not only your content more engaging, more consistent, but also ultimately more optimized for SEO in order to generate traffic and conversions online. So hopefully this has just given you a bit of an insight into how you can create content. But one of the big things that I've been looking at with AI is that it's such a groundbreaking tool, and it's really there to enhance our ability and to enhance our skill sets. Not there to replace them, as I said. It's there to really kind of push the boundaries about what we can do and what we can create. And it's really looking at not trying to hold back with AI. I want you to kind of get into every tool that I've showed you here today. Have a go at it all. They all have trials. They all have some form of account that's going to try and hook you in. But simply have a go with creating them all. Reloom and probably 10web would be the tool that I would really try, and just let go with it. Really try and embrace it as much as you can. In conclusion, some key takeaways from today. #1, again, remember the AI tools are there to be more efficient and accurate. They're there to kind of take a load off. If you're someone that is limited by resources, if you're asked to do 101 different things in your organization or your business, find where the opportunities are. Find the things that you enjoy and keep doing those, but find things that there's an opportunity. Is it content creation? Are you not writing enough blogs for your website? Use ChatGPT to try and fill that gap. What about image generation? Or is someone else you need to go out on site, take photos and try to get images done? Is that going to be a massive time hold? Well, can you use something like Firefly to fill in those gaps? Or are you actively working on building website projects? Are you working with clients? Are you working with an organization to build new websites? Can you use Reloom and possibly Webflow to quickly build or spin up websites to reduce costs, but then focus on the areas that you enjoy the most? So really try and use the resources, use the toolbox that's there, but stay on top of AI. AI and web development particularly is not going anywhere. From ChatGPT being able to write code or verify code, it's just incredible, and it's only going to get better. So it's something to keep an eye on and keep using those tools. Hope you have enjoyed today's webinar when we talked about AI and web development and the whole web design process. We do have our final webinar starting at 3 o'clock. So if you are sticking around for that, we enjoy seeing you there. We'll be going through the Wix AI backend system called the Send by Wix. And in this webinar today, as I said, we really wanted to focus on some of the platforms. Just to throw a curveball at you right at the very end, even this presentation that you're seeing right now was done by AI. And I would say the presentation, the content was still me, so I'm not getting out of that one. But Beautiful.ai is a presentation design software that can be used to develop PowerPoint presentations and slideshows throughout. And we've used that to develop some of the webinar slideshows that we've done simply by using AI. So it's just showing you how far we've come with using AI across the board and all these different platforms. If you do have any questions, as I said, anything you'd like to reach out to us on, you can contact us on our social channels. You can also use the chat feature on Zoom. We look forward to speaking to you again in the next call or on our next sessions. Thanks again, Night. Bye.